Go ahead. Make my day.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Write and Writer, the official podcast of the Washington Free Beacon. I am your host, Elizabeth Harrington. You can follow me on Twitter at LizWFB. Free Beacon Podcast is available on iTunes and Google Play. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. Joining me from the right today is Free Beacon Editor-in-Chief and Beltway elitist Matthew Continetti. You might remember him from such mainstream media shows as The Briefing with Dana Perino and Meet the Press Daily. You can follow him on Twitter at Continetti. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Liz.
Further to Matt's right is Free Beacon President and Chief Data Officer at Cambridge Analytica, Aaron Harrison. We're not exactly sure what he does around the office, but he signs the checks, and that's good enough for us. Hello, Harrison.
Happy first day of spring, everyone.
We also welcome to the program today the chairman of the Washington Free Beacon, Michael Goldfarb, international man of mystery and licensed Republican consultant. He always keeps our panelists in line. Hello, Goldfarb.
Morning.
Up first on Write and Writer. Facebook is under fire for allowing Cambridge Analytica to harvest personal data from millions of accounts to warp the minds of would-be Hillary voters into pulling the lever for Trump. Now Democrats are demanding answers from liberal Mark Zuckerberg. Matt, certainly campaigns have never used social media to try to sway votes, and social media companies have never improperly shared our data.
Someone on Twitter posted a Business Week article after the 2012 campaign where the headline trumpeted how Team Obama used big data to win re-election. And then, of course, the headlines coming out of this latest revelation are Cambridge Analytica used stolen data to shape the profile and influence the votes. I think what's going on here, one level, is just the media falling for Cambridge Analytica's own BS, right? So you see them just saying, oh, the psychographic profile. Well, that doesn't mean anything. And I also think there's a large contingent of reporters just like saying the words Cambridge Analytica, because it sounds sophisticated, and they imagine themselves as like the characters in Isaac Asimov's Foundation novels. On a broader level, though, this is big tech's moment of reckoning. I don't think there's any doubt about it that the regulators are coming. You see that in England, you see it in Germany, and you're going to start seeing it in the United States. Amy Klobuchar and John Kennedy, the Republican from Louisiana, both saying that Facebook needs to answer questions. This is the public sphere, these platforms. And we already know that the platforms are biased against conservatives. And now, of course, since liberals are invested in keeping the platforms to hold whatever political power they have, I think you have both parties interested in regulating. It's a perilous moment for Silicon Valley.
Harrison, you're the mastermind behind all this. Tell us more.
Look, is it so bad to try to capitalize on what Facebook has been doing since its inception? I mean, this is the thing. Facebook, its entire value was initially predicated on the fact that it had everybody's living and breathing biological, psychological data, because everybody was going on Facebook and they were continually updating it. So over the years, if you're running an election, you would have to go and get a voter file. Well, the voter files were based on information from the previous cycle's election. So it's at minimum 2 years old and usually 4 years old when you're trying to do this stuff. So what Facebook was just a giant voter file for all of these political consulting and data firms to exploit. So I don't understand really what the big deal is here. They're just doing what God intended with this data that everybody has given Facebook and Google. We've known all along, anybody that's been on the internet that's over the age of 50 knows that Facebook, Google, big tech, they're all monitoring you left and right. They're stealing your data. They're collecting data to monetize. So what happened here? Cambridge Analytica comes up with a tool to utilize it. They paid Facebook a ton of money, and now here we are. Just finding out that, one of the Republican firms actually happened to capitalize this on this once, as opposed to what Obama was doing in 2012 and 2008, where they actually had Facebook founders working on the Obama campaign. They admitted that Facebook was allowing the Obama campaign in 2012 to do things that other campaigns were not allowed to do with the data. So, look, I think this is it's a little bit of sour grapes, but it's a little bit of a no moment here.
Goldfarb.
Yeah, I think Matt's right. I mean, I've seen my Cambridge Analytica psychographic profile, and look, it had me in the bottom 50% for neuroticism, which I feel like automatically as a Jew with the last name Goldfarb, I'm easily in like the top decile. So I don't really buy the hype on psychographic monitoring. On the other hand, I'm old enough to remember when these guys were the good guys, right? They were on the left. They helped Obama win re-election. Do you remember when Obama brought President Medvedev, okay, who they knew all along that Putin was in charge, right? But they brought President Medvedev to Silicon Valley to go meet with these guys so they could help the Russians get the technology and open their own Silicon Valley that John Podesta was invested in. I mean, that actually happened. Obama brought the Russians to Silicon Valley to show them the technology.
That's amazing. Okay, up next, Andrew McCabe was fired just before he was set to retire and receive his full pension, which by all accounts he's still getting, after the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility recommended he be dismissed for leaking to the media and lying under oath. Now he's joined the resistance. Harrison, about time?
Who are we talking about again?
Andrew McCabe.
This is the problem.
Deputy Director of the FBI.
This is the problem. There's so many figures in this ridiculous spider web that has been woven by Mueller and the Democrats. I don't even know who's who anymore. The only thing that I've heard about McCabe is that he's the poor guy who's going to lose his pension after he lied to FBI investigators, right? That's really like the whole storyline with McCabe here, and they're using it to claim that like Trump is somehow becoming, even more of an authoritarian by controlling the Justice Department through his through his threat to fire McCabe. Therefore, he would then lose his government pension, which is extremely fat. I mean, I don't understand why we're sobbing over a guy that's worth $11 million losing a $200,000 a year pension. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And
also, you had resistance types starting GoFundMes for his lost pension that he's not even going to lose, and he's like, worth $11 million.
How is he worth $11 million?
It's called the swamp, Matthew. I'm not sure if you're aware.
I just became aware of this. Yeah,
I don't know, Twitter.
Did you just make it up?
No, I've seen it.
I feel like there's some reporting you need to do after this podcast is over.
Listen,
that's incredible.
This is what my sources inside the government.
Oh, your
are telling
sources.
Me. Yes. I've received several email. I even received an email forward yesterday that says that his wife.
What? InfoWars?
Well, no, that his wife actually worked for the Rose Law Firm for Hillary Clinton back in the day.
All right.
Look, we're not. I don't want to spread disinformation on this podcast.
No,
this whole investigation is disinformation. That's the point.
We'll be doing a lot of checking up on all of these claims.
It always comes
at
back
freebeacon.com. But I will say here, when even Ben Wittes, who runs the Lawfare blog and the Lawfare podcast, he's a friend of James Comey, and he's on MSNBC all the time. When even Ben Wittes says that, you know what, they may have had cause here to fire Andrew McCabe, I think that the media is on thin ice in denouncing the autocracy of Donald Trump in this specific instance. McCabe seems to have really flouted a lot of FBI protocol, and of course, he plays this double game with the relationship between his wife and Terry McAuliffe. Remember, because the wife was running for the state Senate seat, received this huge amount, $700,000 for a state Senate race. It didn't make any sense for McAuliffe. He's like, Donald Trump kept insulting my wife whenever we mentioned. Well, have you ever met Donald Trump? Have you ever seen him on TV? Of course he's going to do that. So I think there's a lot going on here. And I also think the media sometimes puts more thought into what Donald Trump tweets than Donald Trump does, because the headline is, for the first time, Donald Trump mentions Mueller by name in a tweet. Well, do you think Donald Trump gave any thought about, this will be the first time? This is when I cross that Rubicon? I don't think so.
Up next, President Trump wants the death penalty for opioid dealers. Matt, is he going far enough?
That's a great way to frame this question, Liz. Because really, there's so many different punishments: drawing and quartering, flaying, the guillotine.
Right, I guess is the death penalty, but
I think what Trump
Sonny likes to bring it back.
This is classic Trump. He is being rhetorically maximalist when in fact the actual details are rather minimalist. If you look at the actual policy, they're saying, oh, we're going to pursue the death penalty in cases when it's a federal law is applicable, which is usually when the drug dealer has already murdered somebody. I actually think, if you had the death penalty for big drug dealers, like massive distributors and such, that would act as a deterrent. But I think Trump is setting some standards here, and it may actually cause some people to think twice. I mean, remember what Trump does is, as Scott Adams always said, is this thing called anchoring, where he always sets a marker out that's at the extreme. But even though it's not literally true, it will begin shaping your perceptions in that direction. And so I think in that sense, it's a good policy.
Yeah, he wants to be tough. Harrison?
I'm totally for it. It seems to be working really well in the Philippines under President Duterte. I think trafficking over there is down over 95% over the past 2 years.
More statistics.
Did you get that from the same source as Andrew McCabe's $11 million net worth?
Listen,
we're going to check on that.
A
I think he's right
legitimate
about
journalist
that.
does not disclose his sources. Okay, that's just a fact. It's journalism 101.
Yeah.
So, listen. I think it's a good thing. Think about what we're doing here, what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a massive opioid crisis that's killing people by the thousands. All right, that is an indisputable fact, right?
Tens
there.
of thousands.
Tens of thousands. So we're dealing with something that's mass murdering people, and who is responsible for bringing this murderous substance into our midst? It's the drug dealers. Start killing them, and let's
get rid of the problem.
Look, let's put some actual, deterrent into bringing in all this stuff, other than making movies about them and turning them into cash money millionaires. Let's take care of this problem.
Goldfarb, thoughts?
I'm actually concerned. I care about the death penalty. I care a lot about it. It's an issue I try and follow closely, and I'm worried that there are real threats to the death penalty moving forward. And I'm supportive of this policy, but I'd like to see the Trump administration put the death penalty on firmer footing for the future. And I got to say, I'm sort of surprised we can't get the drugs to kill people, right? This is a big thing. They block the pharmaceutical companies won't give them. They block them from importing the drugs. We have these drugs apparently that are killing tens of thousands of people. And I just wonder whether the solution isn't right in front of us if we're going to maybe we kill the drug dealers with the drugs that seem to be very effective at killing people.
With fentanyl. Right. And remember, too, fentanyl is a national security issue because the bulk of it's coming from China. I mean, this is literally China poisoning the American people in a weird reversal of what happened during the opium wars of the 19th century.
But it's effective. It's painless.
Right.
I mean,
I think it's a novel policy you're proposing here.
It's like the solar panels on the wall. It pays for itself. They have the drugs
Death
on them when you catch them.
by fentanyl.
Up next, while preparing for the gun control rally in D.C., teen activist David Hogg has found out he's been rejected by every college he applied to. Harrison, maybe instead of going on TV, he should hit the books?
Hey, second look at college administrations, you know what I mean? Listen, I think that there's something going on here, right? Mr. Articulate can't apparently, write a 3-paragraph essay and pass his SATs. I mean, we were rejected from multiple lower level state schools in the state of Florida. Is that what we're dealing with here? That's what it sounds like to me. Why can't these little get into a college? I think it's odd, but it won't surprise me when Harvard or Yale or one of these other elitist institutions from the East Coast parachutes in to save this guy's butt at the last second. They're going to take probably a sub 700 SATer and throw him right in the middle with a bunch of geniuses from all the other dreamers that they're accepting up there. So
Matt, but now he's got so many extracurricular activities.
I think Hogg has really rapidly spent whatever moral capital he accumulated from being at the Parkland shooting.
Yeah.
He's making the tours of all the major, liberal entertainment complex shows. He's just using the most kind of visceral and polarizing language around the NRA and then Republicans more generally. This is a guy who I think was thrust into circumstances, obviously not of his own choosing, but you know what? These teenagers, there's a reason why we don't let them vote, and it's because they're not intellectually and psychologically capable of making these judgments at this stage in their lives. They're fragile, and it also, he clearly has this theatrical bent, And I'm not sure he's interested in college anyway. Why do you need college? Shouldn't he be part of the case against college? Like he goes straight to being a celebrity activist.
Well, perhaps a drama scholarship would be in his future. I mean, he's very good at reading lines that are provided to him.
Yeah, he's in the theater group, I believe.
I had the same response as Aaron. I mean, it is shockingly reactionary from the college admissions officers. I don't know. It's sort of like you can't believe it's true. So something's going on here.
Well, they probably had the applications before the shooting. I think that's the simplest explanation.
They would
isn't it?
never make an exception and just push a good anti-gun activist into the accepted
I know,
pile.
but bureaucracies work very slowly. It's possible that a lot of these decisions were made and before the shooting.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Before we jump into our culture topics on Right and Writer, it's time to check in with our favorite pop culture expert, staff writer at the Washington Free Beacon, Natalie Johnson. Hello, Natalie.
Hello, Liz.
We had huge announcement yesterday, broke on Twitter, has to do with New York. What happened?
We had Sex and the City's very own Cynthia Nixon
Miranda.
announcing a challenge to Governor Andrew Cuomo. And I have to say, I am so excited about this. I do not think that there's anything more iconically New York, except for maybe Times Square, than Sex and the City. And this is great. And our own reporter, Brent Scher, actually knows Cynthia Nixon.
He used to ride the bus with Miranda
He did.
when he went to school. Yeah,
and
in
he
high
told
school.
he told me to please quote him on this podcast that she is a very nice lady. So she has the endorsement of Brent Scher.
She came across that way on the ad, the campaign launch ad that she had. It was very, very well done, except the very end was a little creepy when then she looks at the camera. It's like what she hadn't been looking at the camera the entire time, and then she's on the subway, and then she's like directly into the camera. It's a little creepy.
Yeah, that part was a little odd, but I'll give her a pass with that. I'm team Miranda all the way.
So she needs to pick a side in the Sex and the City feud.
Yes.
And so if she's going SJP or Kim Cattrall,
that might sway. I live in
sway
DC,
some voters.
but,
That'll swing voters.
If
what
I
will
lived
help
in New
her
York,
more?
I think more people are team SJP, but they just don't know Kim Cattrall like I do.
Well, I think also SJP is actually a registered voter in New York. Doesn't Kim Cattrall live overseas now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so what? I mean, there's a lot of voters that could go on one side or the other. If she's going to get rid of Cuomo, I think she needs to take a stand. I think she needs to come out on Kim Cattrall's side.
I think so too.
Okay. We also wanted to talk about Claire's, the jewelry chain, is also filed for bankruptcy, not just Toys R Us. Claire's yesterday. This is kind of heartbreaking news because, they said 100 million ears pierced worldwide.
Yeah.
I was one of those.
I was too. I had
Just one?
I had three. I have three
I
ear
was kind of wondering, is that 50 million people or 100 million ears? Like, or like,
I think it'd be 50 million.
but some people only get one at a time. If you get it up high or whatever.
But Natalie just
I've
said
had
she had
three separate piercings
piercings.
from
But Natalie
so
only
I think
has,
you count them individually.
Natalie only has
Harrison.
2 ears.
Yeah, but I have 5 holes,
Yes.
5 piercings.
Yes.
So 5, yes.
Anyway,
five piercings on 2 ears.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a lot of ears. It's a lot of piercings. It's kind of sad. I don't want them to go away.
this to me though, in the retail hurricane and monsoon of Wipeout, is the most devastating loss that we've had thus far.
Yes. Okay. And finally, The Crown. You watched The Crown.
Yes.
On Netflix. I unfortunately have only seen a couple episodes, but there's a scandal involving pay equity. What happened? What's going on there?
Yes, so we had The Crown's Claire Foy, who plays Queen Elizabeth. She is easily the star. She has shot the most scenes, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have Matt Smith, who played Prince Philip, who is not in as many scenes, and he was being paid a lot more. Now we're having people call him to donate to Time's Up, but I actually think that that's misguided. I don't think that he was the one who was making the decision to pay himself more money. I think that was the production's fault, first of all. So I think that the production are the people who need to rectify this, not the man who plays Prince Philip.
Well, the problem is, too, nobody knows how this works. Nobody knows how billing works. he was in Doctor Who,
Right.
which he was the lead title character. Based on that, he, with his agent, I'm sure negotiated, a higher contract. I mean, she was in some other show, but was she the main lead? I mean, it goes on. It's based on
does.
experience.
Yeah, and I agree with
and
that.
Why should the guy have to give up his?
No, he shouldn't have to
salary?
give. I had the same feeling when Mark Wahlberg donated his $1.5 million to Time's Up. I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous. These calls for him, and if he didn't do it, he was going to look like some sexist asshole. And so it's just, this isn't the actor's fault. It is production's fault, and it's something that needs to be looked at. And again, when we're having these debates, as you say, experience needs to be taken into account.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for this important culture update, Natalie.
Of course, thank you.
Up next, John Oliver is trying to hijack Mike Pence's daughter Charlotte's delightful children's book about the Pence family rabbit. Oliver came up with his own book where the bunnies are gay. Matt, do you get it? Because Pence hates the gays.
I don't get it. Not only do I not get it,
It's so clever.
I don't understand the fixation with Mike Pence, and it reminds me that no matter how much the resistance hates Donald Trump, the truth is they probably hate Mike Pence more. And that if Mike Pence were to become the president, it's not like the polarization or the endless criticism would fade away. It might actually weirdly be amplified because Pence gets at like the heart of the issues today, which tend to be wrapped up in sex and identity. So not only was it not funny, it was also fairly disturbing to me because it showed kind of the continual condescension and snobbery of a lot of our cultural elite against just Bible-believing Christians.
No, look, this is how we got here, though, right? I mean, Bush was Hitler before Trump was Hitler, and Pence will be Hitler next. And they've defined it down to a point that there's no relative perspective. So, of course, when they start screaming bloody murder about Trump, it's like, well, you scream like that about every Republican. So people didn't.
And it's not even. I mean, it's not. It's going after the wife and the daughter doing a book.
I don't know the details of this because it's so ridiculous.
All the proceeds to this book are going to victims of human trafficking, right? And you have all of John Oliver's followers just flooding the Amazon page and giving nasty reviews. But good on Amazon, at least they cleaned it up. By the time I checked, it's only verified purchasers, and they're all 5-star reviews because it's a nice, cute little book, and they're not profiting off of it. Harrison.
Well, I just think that the Republicans have a real deficit in going after Democratic vice presidents. I mean, the Democrats actually kick ass on their attacks. I mean, think about what they did to Cheney.
Yeah.
Now they're working on Pence, and what they did to Dan Quayle before them. I mean, it's like that's kind of a cottage industry of the Democratic Party, and like
they didn't do anything to Cheney. Cheney's Cheney. He's
yeah.
out there.
No, look, what they did was
Riding horses.
It made me like him more, honestly. But like you saw what they were doing, like the whole, he's like this evil overlord and all this stuff. Which good overlord, evil overlord. I mean, I think it's up to debate. But I mean, I know what side of the aisle I come down on. That
I think Cheney was behind those attacks on Cheney.
It's
I think
possible.
Cheney liked that rep. I don't think they laid a glove on our man Cheney.
Up next, a self-driving, non-coal fired Uber killed a pedestrian in Arizona, prompting the company to halt testing. Harrison, can these killing machines be stopped?
Well, here you go. I got the internet hot take of the day on this one. This is where the machines start uprising and killing us all. I mean that's how many of those tweets were out there yesterday?
You're tired of that. You're tired of that meme.
Look, it's just to me, it's just more of like this weird like arrogance that exists in Silicon Valley right now. That like the technology is so much farther along than it actually is. Now, on the other hand, like we're gonna have to break a few eggs if we're gonna get to automatic driving cars. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like how do you test in live circumstances without being in a live environment? I don't know how you do it. Maybe you don't do it at all. I don't know.
Maybe we should just focus on simple technologies like chairs and perfecting that before we get to cars.
If we can master that, we can master everything else. I think
it's funny. It's kind of like the two technologies. With the technologies in a race with just normal humanity, because traffic fatalities have been rising in recent years. And no one's really sure why. My personal belief is that it's people texting while they're driving, because I see plenty of that while I'm driving. I look, to other lanes, and they're the people in the car next to me going 60 miles an hour on the Beltway and answering their email. You would assume that's part of it. So you're almost you have to pick your poison. Is it going to be the Ubers?
Well,
is it going to be the self-driving
drivers.
Ubers that kill us, or
I'd much
the
rather
idiots
be killed by
texting while
somebody
they go high speed?
texting than a headless
Well, I don't think
car.
it's. I think we're blaming. I don't think we should be blaming the drivers. They're not the ones that are at fault. It's 9 times out of 10. It's actually the pedestrians that are being distracted, and they just walk out and run
Blame
the
the
red
victim.
light.
No, those are rising too, but it's also just traffic fatalities, and crashes, and things like that.
The woman was not in the crosswalk in this Uber
Yeah,
thing.
that's true.
Well, so she deserved to die.
Well, this was a total. Was she in the crosswalk or not?
I
No,
think it
she
said
was
she
not.
was
Right, she was
outside.
So it's like Christine. It's like a Stephen King movie come to life.
Yeah. Okay, up next, Jim Carrey shared some of his art on Twitter that isn't much better than Rosie O'Donnell's. Spokesperson for Carrey would not confirm that the obvious unflattering portrait of Sarah Huckabee Sanders was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who Carrey criticized for being a Christian and said her, quote, only purpose in life is to lie for the wicked. Matt, remember when Jim Carrey used to be funny?
Yeah, God, that was so long ago, Liz. It's
Yeah.
like, that's, you know what? I was maybe 12, 13 when he was funny the last time. I can't remember. The ancient history. You know, not only is it with the Christian thing, which we talked about here, but it's also indicative of how quickly liberals go to people's looks and attacking people's looks. And, you know,
And always women.
It's always women, right? And, you know, their self-fashioned identity as being, you know, holier than thou and having the most perfect morality and defenders of women is so quickly crumbles whenever they're confronted with someone who just doesn't agree with them. And that's all it's about. And yet we're rapidly moving into a situation where we don't even get to the point of having honest disagreement. We're so quick to just kind of condemn and consign people who are different politically into a lower level of
That's
humanity.
just your stupid opinion, Matt.
Yeah. Get out of my sight, Mike.
Harrison.
Well, I just would like to say that like mental illness is no joking matter, and I think that Jim Carrey's, you know, downward spiral into the depths of mental illness is kind of sad. It's burned his talent. I mean, I also didn't think that was necessarily a picture of Sarah Sanders. I thought that was a self-portrait of his famous character Vera DeMilo from In Living Color, where he played a female bodybuilder. So it's possible that's his. And I don't think he actually, or his representatives actually confirmed that it was Miss Sanders.
They confirmed that he did the painting, but
Right,
they
but they
wouldn't
didn't confirm who.
that it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It was
maybe
obviously her.
Yeah,
maybe
but
it was
Vera
maybe,
DeMilo didn't work for Trump, right?
We don't know that. Listen, if Caitlyn Jenner can support Trump and Ted Cruz and the Republican Party, possibly Vera DeMilo does as well.
Goldfarb.
I have no view on this. I mean, what Jim Carrey did a painting, and you all saw it,
it's
and
very-
now we're
it's
talking
so
about
important.
it. How does
We
this
need
even
topics,
happen?
More
Goldfarb. We need
important
things
than
to talk
opioids.
about.
It's good radio.
I like Dumb
Talking
and
about
Dumber.
pictures.
You know, I liked the Cosby Show too. You know, these people do things later in life that, you know, it doesn't really affect the art they did at the time.
Okay. Finally, Harrison, you have discovered a new Netflix show called The Push. I feel it may be your master plan to dwindle down the Free Beacon staff.
Well, I wouldn't be so concerned about myself actually pushing anybody out the window more than Sonny Bunch might be the one that would mass murder everybody. No, this show's. I caught this show on Netflix last week. It's a 1-episode show. It's like an hour and a half long. But the concept is that you can be socially pressured into committing murder inside of an hour. So they take this poor schlub who they had set up from months in advance. They brought him in for an acting audition, and they had him do a bunch of social experiments. And so they auditioned maybe 25 people. They took the top 5 that appeared to be most socially persuadable. Through just peer pressure, they would have like a group of people, like 10 people come in, and they would just randomly start telling them to sit up and sit down, and then ring a bell, and everybody would do it, so you'd feel pressured into it. But that's how they figured out who was most gullible. So anyway, they invite this guy into what he thinks is a networking function, and just a series of unfortunate events just start happening. There's a heart attack. They eventually get this guy to start dragging the body all over the facility. They had people kicking the dead body because.
But is the body really dead?
Okay, but this is the brilliance of it, is that it was actually, there was a bait and switch that happened halfway through where they had Hollywood, a makeup team come in and make a perfect fake corpse of this guy. It was lifelike and real, so that's what they were dragging around. It wasn't actually the body.
So they think it's a dead body.
Yeah, they think this guy died of a heart attack, and they're trying to cope with it at this black tie fundraiser. And then at the very end, this guy, it turns out, he wakes up, and he's about to call, they're on the roof of the building, and he's about to call the police and say, these people tried to murder me. They locked me in a box. They were dragging me all over hell. And the group of people that had been manipulating him all along gets to the climax, and they say, okay, there's only one solution here. And the guy goes over onto the ledge to make the phone call and smoke a cigarette. You got to push him off. You got to push him off the building.
They push him off the building.
I'm not going to ruin it, but there are
No
four different
spoilers.
people. There are four different people. But the big question here is like, who around here, who at this table would be capable of being into that situation?
Now,
You.
did they use? Can I say? Did they use Cambridge Analytica in manipulating
Yeah,
the
the mind
psychographs of
warp.
the people on the show?
It is a British show, so I wouldn't.
Here
rule
we
it
go,
out.
making connections.
Anyway, it was
I'll
fantastic.
say that Harrison asked all of us to watch this show last week.
And none of them did,
And
clearly.
none of
Never.
us did.
No, I feel like we should just do this segment with Harrison in the Al Franken role. Do you remember that time? Do you remember that time? And then,
Chris- that was Chris
and then you
Farley.
pushed him on. Was it Chris Farley?
Yeah.
My bad.
Sad.
And that's the one piece of information you're going to correct on this show.
Andrew McCabe is worth $11
So much
million.
more to talk about.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today's edition of Right and Writer. I'd like to give a special thanks to our producer, Louis Bunch IV, and of course, our Free Beacon guests, Matthew Continetti, Aaron Harrison, Michael Goldfarb, and Natalie Johnson. Remember, find us on iTunes and Google Play. Just search for Free Beacon. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a positive review. Unlike listener Vulgar Demos, who only gave us a 3-star review, but at least praised the moderator, quote, given what she's working with. Until next time.
Well, that was easily our best show yet.